This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
All right, let's get after it. It's time to recap All-Star Weekend as Toronto's bye week begins. Next in action on Friday when they visit the Columbus Blue Jackets for a back-to-back home and home, a rare one you see with the Leafs, presented by PointsBet Canada and Montana's. It's the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with you. What's up, Rosie?
Myself, but I'm doing good. There we go. How you doing? Man, you must have had yourself a weekend down there. I want to hear a little bit about it. Some highlights, some lowlights. Are you allowed to talk about any lowlights or just the good stuff?
No, you know me. There's never any lowlights with yours truly. I'm the most positive person. Had a fantastic time. I saw right through the bitching about the festivities, whether it's the skills, whether it's the All-Star game. Let me just put it this way. So I was flying home yesterday, sitting down near my gate, waiting for my flight. And I pretty much saw what you want to see at All-Star Weekend, a kid and his dad. And the kid was like, couldn't take the smile off his face. They were from Columbus. They got a chance to see Johnny Gaudreau, who went home to be closer to home in Columbus on the 32nd team in the NHL. And they said they had a really, really good time. So that was my major takeaway. It's always been that case with All-Star Weekend. It's not about me. It's not about your casual fan. It's about the kids. And as long as they're happy, that's all I care about, Rosie.
You think that whole multi-million-dollar program was just for the kids, eh? Well, if that's
We're going to get into it. I don't want you to say too much, but all in all, it was a really good time on and off the ice. A couple fantastic spots. Shout out to the folks at Elbow Room. It's right on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. Man, the one night, I think every night actually, I wasn't there every night, but I hit up a couple different spots in the area, obviously. But the who's who of the hockey world was there, like list, media member, player, former player, former Hall of Famer. They were all in one establishment, man. It made for some incredible visuals. Like I'm not the type of person to grab a picture, especially when I'm loaded up or others are loaded up. But I just sat there and like took a step back and I was like, holy crap, you know?
Yeah, it seemed like from the bit that I watched, it was like a lot of Hall of Famers cruising around. I think the league flies in a lot of old guys. You know, you see Luongo on the ice there, and Messier and Chelios and a bunch of Hall of Fame guys are out there, which is cool. I like that part of it too, for sure, to kind of have the blast from the past, because you don't get a chance to see some of those old boys all that much anymore unless it's on a potato chip commercial or some shit like that. But to see them cruising around there and seeing what they look like nowadays, I do like that part for sure.
Couple highlights from the weekend. I got to finally meet Tyler Yaremchuk from Oilers Nation in person. That was fantastic. He towers over me, which is pretty incredible. As you know, I'm 6'3". He's about 6'4", 6'5". We had a great time. We were actually at a private event for Connor McDavid announcing an extension with CCM. And that was so cool, man. Like, it was an intimate setting. Jennifer Botterill from Hockey Night in Canada and Sportsnet was the host. And she sort of did like a one-on-one with McDavid. And it was probably like 45 to 50 people max, dude. And the best part about it, open bar. How are you?
Open bar, dude. Yeah, did McDavid give you anything, man? He's a tough interview, that kid. He's almost media trained to the gills. Plus, he doesn't have a lot of personality. I think he's just a pure hockey dude. But man, it's hard pulling teeth out of that guy when you're trying to get some good interview coverage. He doesn't want to give up too much, it seems like.
He's very reserved, but having said that, I asked around a couple media members, especially who cover the Oilers, and I said, like, what's he like to cover on a daily basis? And one person said, there's Davo, and then there's Connor McDavid, which to me said, behind closed doors, Connor McDavid's a beauty. And I've heard this about everybody. List your star player who's sort of timid and quiet, similar to Sidney Crosby. I just think, to your point, McDavid's just been under the microscope for so long. He's just been so media trained for so many years that he's not going to give you much. Having said that, I thought in this setting he was pretty damn good. There wasn't scrums after, so it was just like a one-on-one. But he gave them a bit, pump CCM, obviously. But that's what I heard. He's a different cat behind the scenes, which you love to hear. I'm sure his teammates obviously love him, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I just don't think some guys just don't have the personality to be, pizzazzy on interviews, and they also don't care. It's not their job to make your headlines good. And I get that too. But be nice to get a little more. I feel like Sid can at least crack a smile and understand a joke. But when you think about in that market, how many stupid bloody questions he's been asked, I can imagine it gets a little old and you just put on your stone face and get through the interview so you can walk away, which is unfortunate that it gets that way with some of those big stars, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so all in all, it was a great time. Got a chance to interview Alexander Barkov. Of course, I do freelance work with the NHL and their whole podcast, ecosystem. So did some fantasy stuff over there. Interviewed Paul Coffey, legend, Hall of Famer, of course. And yeah, Barkov. So all in all, I think objective complete and looking forward to next season. We will get to that. And we touched on that a couple weeks on the show. A couple weeks ago, I should say, that Toronto will be hosting the 2024 All-Star Game. And obviously, we hope to get Rosie out here. I'm already in talks, by the way, with the NHL to have us do our show, Leafs Morning Take, from Fanfare, and we're still a year away from that. So a lot to be excited about over the next year, and also a lot to be excited with, Rosie, when it comes to our new YouTube channel. As you'll see on our screen, producer Aaron's going to put it up at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Again, we are slowly migrating over to this new channel. Aaron and company have been doing a tremendous job of spreading the word. The Simmons versus Greer conversation that we had last week really took off. Apparently, you hate LeBron James. I should bring up, I was not going to forget, you hammered the Lakers to lose against Indiana, and naturally the Lakers won last Thursday. So great job, Rosie. You're on fire. Also, remember to subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review wherever you're checking us out. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest on all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, that's theleafsnation.com. Also, thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns. A lot of this show will be around All-Star Weekend, what type of changes to make. Look ahead to the Leafs here, at least in the unofficial second half of the season. 30-some-odd games remaining in this campaign. So any comments, any questions, concerns, get that to us. Drop us a line here in the YouTube chat, and we'll get to them. And I aim to do a mailbag at some point in time this week. Obviously, some days off for the Maple Leafs, and you can pretty much ask Rosie anything. So buckle up for that. But for now, we're going to get over the boards. All right, so we're just going to break this down the way it was, All-Star Weekend, the two main components. We'll start with the All-Star Game. I know you were fired up about this. The Atlantic Division wins the game. I thought this is the cherry on top, so great to a great hosting job. Obviously, I was there in Sunrise and Fort Lauderdale. But Matthew Tkachuk, the Tkachuks really stole the weekend for me in terms of, really crowning a winner. And obviously, that was a big trade last offseason. What do you think of the Atlantic Division winning and Matthew Tkachuk winning MVP in that new pilot car?
Yeah, that's cool. It's I like the game better than the skills competition.
Yeah.
They've been trying to make it worth something. These guys aren't going to go out there and kill themselves and get hurt and battle or anything like that. And rightfully so. It's kind of their break, and you're not really playing for anything. These guys are wired to be on their team and to chase scoring titles and to try to win the Stanley Cup and set themselves up for playoffs. And then you go play in this dick around skate. It was about as good as it could be. And I know the NHL's trying to make it worth something. They throw $1 million at them, and they split it up, and what's $88,000? You get taxed on that. What the hell does that mean to these guys? Not a whole lot. And I don't think the answer is throwing more money at them. It just looks obnoxious. Like you say, it's kind of about the kids. It's about meeting the guys. Yeah. It's not about like, oh, here's a multimillionaire, here's a whole bunch of more money, and then now you can get your feet moving. That's not the trick. It's cool the Atlantic Division win it. It seemed like the Tkachuk brothers and his dad, they kind of stole the camera the whole time, which pretty neat that they're the only group in history who have had father and two sons be All-Stars, which is kind of neat. So that's kind of what I kind of noticed when I was watching the little bit that I did. But other than that, what is the Atlantic Division? What do they get for winning that? Obviously the money, but who cares?
Bragging rights. I like the jerseys. I thought the Miami Vice theme was really, really nice. Not to date you, did you ever play against Keith Tkachuk?
No, I don't think I did, man. I remember Adam Foote back there being one of the older guys. I think he was done before me. I think he'd blown up already.
Yeah. Not still. No comment, man. It happens to the best of us, certainly. But I think when you look at the Tkachuks, I thought that was outstanding. I would add, though, as we look ahead, obviously, to Toronto hosting next year's All-Star festivities, the one thing I would bring back, and I don't care about the players' feelings, the draft. I thought that component was actually pretty cool. I remember back a couple of years ago to Columbus in the draft and all that setting. I think the cool thing I would add, I actually don't mind the way they do right now with the 3-on-3 in the game, at least. But I want the ability to potentially see McDavid with Crosby, with Matthews if he was there, And I think a draft would allow the ideology or the thoughts to potentially have that, right? And I think that's the one component I would bring back to tinker with things a bit. I like the 3-on-3 setting. I like the way it is, but I would do a redraft, Rosie. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Just mix up the players a little bit and, maybe give someone a
Yeah.
chip on their shoulder. Maybe one team gets a little bit stacked somehow. And then,
Yeah.
the one team gets a little pissed off and has a bit of a pushback or something to mix it up, something where the players are actually involved and there's an element of, I don't know what it would be.
Personality.
Just more involvement, more
Personality.
personality. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
fun. I mean, everyone remembers, Kessel sitting there by himself and, Ovi taking a picture of him and laughing and, yeah, your
Yeah.
feelings are hurt. I don't know, man. These guys are NHL All-Stars. I don't
They're
imagine there's too much to
all-stars.
be ashamed of in there, no matter where you go. And yeah, that'd be all right too. It's funny. They've been dicking around with it every year. Like, has it been the same ever? It doesn't seem like it. They're always
The last
changing
couple of
something,
years it has.
trying to make
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I guess it's just it's a
Yeah.
tough one. I wouldn't want to be in charge of it, but I don't. Like I said, I don't mind the game so much. The skills kind of just makes me groan a little bit.
I've been to a bunch of these now. Like I think this is like my 5th or 6th All-Star game that I've been to. And again, I go in with an open mind. Like if you're there to watch like great hockey, I think you have to go somewhere else. Go watch a Coast League game. I don't know what to tell you. It's about, seeing X player, the availability to the media, to the fans, the autographs. Like that's when I look back at it, even as a kid. Did I really care about there being a laser on the puck on Fox? Like not really. I just think it's media driven. People just love to bitch about something. Even the other day, I didn't even know, like, I don't watch football. The Pro Bowl was on. It was an absolute fucking joke, man. Like, people just like to bitch about things. Let's just put it that way. And that seems to be the big pinata this year is the All-Star game and changing it, whatever. I'm just happy. The kids are happy. That's all that matters. So I mentioned Toronto's hosting. I can't believe it's been 24 years. You know who was the All-Star game MVP in 2000 when the Leafs hosted it?
Oh, a goalie
The
Cujo.
Russian Rocket. The
Oh,
Russian Rocket,
Pavel.
Pavel Bure. The
Unreal.
world beat the North American team 9-4 in that game back in 2000. So yeah, the first time in 24 years the All-Star game is coming back. And the only unfortunate part I would say, Rosie, having been to the last 2 All-Star games in Florida this year, Vegas, there was also Tampa a couple years back, is the weather it's just going to be a lot of a different, a bit of a different feeling. And rest assured, there's not going to be a dunk tank this time around. I can tell you that. Where I'd love to dunk you.
Yeah, I won't be crying the blues, man. I don't know. It's just cheesy
Yeah.
to me. It just doesn't have to be cheesy. I know it's for the
Yeah.
kids and whatnot, apparently, but if
Yeah.
you're trying to gain fans to the game, and I mean the Tkachuk brothers come out there with sunglasses and a beach chair, and then he puts on snorkel and he goes down and does some weird. It's just like painful. And then Mitch comes out for no reason.
Yeah.
It just seems like a 15-year-old intern wrote the script for it all. And it's just painful and cheesy. And I mean, so we've kind of switched roles here. Usually you like to pin things apart and I'm kind of saying, hey, we're switched off here. But it's just hard. And everyone I've talked to, yes, they're all of the same category of a male of a certain age, just shakes their head and say, I can't even bring myself to watch it. It's so cheesy. It's scattered all over the place. I mean, shooting a weird looking puck at a surfboard to go into a dunk tank. Like, these are NHL All-Stars here, man. I want to, I guess you're trying to get the personality out of them and stuff. It's just hard to watch. It's not for me. And everyone I've talked to, it's also painful to watch. I think they need a real overhaul of it. Make it less cheesy, but I guess at the end of the day, people in the NHL, the powers that be, they put people in charge to think of ideas and make it fun, and this is what they come up with. It's just definitely not for me, man. It's hard to watch, and I'm surprised they get the guys to do some of this cheesy stuff they're doing. It's just like almost painful, and the crowd's not really even watching. It seems a little bit scattered. I'd rather just have boom, boys in the benches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different stations or competitions, and boom, they go. And you give a big old nice trophy to the winner that gathered the most points from somewhat, and he gets a real trophy that you can really actually be proud of, that everyone's playing for every year, and then maybe they can take it seriously. It's just a complete fuck around. Guys are wearing capes and sombreros and stuff like that. I'm sorry, it's not for me. It's painful to watch. Hopefully the kids like it. Good for you, but not for me. I would totally professionalize it up a little bit. Like, look at that stuff. It's just embarrassing, man. Sorry to say.
Okay,
I'm usually Mr. Positive, but not happening with this.
So name me one sport that has a good All-Star game then.
Well, like
You
baseball and
can't.
their home run derby seems to be pretty legit. I mean, they're playing for something. They're
Eh,
playing for home, home advantage in the World Series. Is that not right? So
I think
if you were to
so.
do
Yeah.
that and play for, the Eastern Western Conference home ice advantage in the Stanley Cup Finals, who all of a sudden those big boys who want that, you're playing for something. On the other hand, all of a sudden it's Game 7 and it's in Colorado because they won the All-Star game and so had more
Yeah.
points than them. That would cause some reasons for guys to be pissed off too. So nothing's perfect, and I'm not claiming I have all the answers, but I just know it's not very easy to watch that cringe fest.
Yeah, I just like to look around at the other sports. Like the dunk competition's not the same anymore, and everybody even forgets there's other competitions within the. There's a 3-point shooting contest. NFL, it's a joke. Like these guys are running around with shorts on, like they're not even playing football. It's like arena league
Yeah.
football. Like it's just I don't know. I think people have this unrealistic expectation of an all-star event. It is what it is, and ultimately, it's for the fans. It's for the kids with the skills competition. I would go back to the basics, like along what you're saying. I just some of the stuff is really, really cheesy. And that's even from somebody who, obviously does some work with the NHL. And I think all in all, the events are a lot of fun, man. I see what happens behind the scenes. The fanfare was tremendous. The access to the players, I think it's very especially in this era, it's hard to get access the way you do at NHL events and just walk around and bump into the who's who of the hockey world. I think it's really, really cool. You don't have to just be media for that. But bottom line, like it's not a cinema production company. We're not watching a movie. I would go back to the basics, man. What really sold the game back in the day. That's pretty much all I would do.
That's what I think too. Get these guys' helmets off, get them like banging out different stations or different competitions. Have it legible and obvious of who's the leaderboard right now. Have a nice big silver trophy that guy wins every single
Yeah.
year, and they got the names on it. You can look back in time and see who's won this over the years. Like they don't really have that structure right now. I would kind of go towards that, and I just when you look at it, I think about behind the scenes what these guys are doing. Some guys are down on the beach, some guys are on a golf course, some guys are in the rink, and they must be getting
Yeah.
carted and vanned and trucked all over the place,
Yeah.
waiting for this guy, radio this, waiting for someone's gather over here. Oh, we got your scuba gear here. You're gonna put
Yeah.
this silly hat on, and I bet you these guys are just like it's probably the longest day ever for these guys, and
It
I think
is.
it's going to get more people saying, you know what, I'm good to not go in that. There's no prestige in it. I'm not winning anything. No one's going to remember it. It's a complete gong show. And I could go and sit on the beach with my wife and kids and have an actual relaxation and rehab some injuries and get some rest and then come back fired up after the All-Star game. I think more guys are going to lean towards that than doing the circus act where they feel like they're part of a sideshow.
Next year is going to be interesting because it's in a cold climate. I know it's in Toronto, the hockey mecca, but I'm fascinated, man, because I think it's an easier pull, to your point, to get guys to go to Sunrise in Fort Lauderdale than it does like a minus 30 Toronto. Like it was really, really cold over the weekend. Thankfully, I got back and it's not as cold, around -1, even 1 degree. So I was happy about that. But to go to a cold climate, especially when you have a couple days off, that's going to be a tough sell. Like even Alex Ovechkin was there this weekend. He normally doesn't go to these things anymore, right?
Yeah, guys that are getting older and thinking, "Hey, I'm, this is not going to happen every year anymore," and maybe you
For him,
take
it will.
advantage. Guys in their prime, like an Austin Matthews, he's
Yeah.
got lots of these coming up and being a little bit
Yeah.
banged up and having a pretty serious season, right in front of you
Yeah.
and needing to make a push. I could see more reason for it, but nonetheless, it was good to see those old guys are there. It's funny seeing the pictures of
Yeah.
like Ovi and Sid's first one. They look like
So
babies, man, and
cool.
I feel like they're
Yeah.
just hitting their prime, but they're not. They're getting old, man, and a lot of these young guys are stepping in, and we're not going to see these guys every year there anymore, and that's the sad reality of it. But will be interesting to see what they do in Toronto, how they mix that up. Is the whole thing going to be in the Scotiabank Arena? Are they going to do any extracurriculars, or maybe that'd be a good time to go back to the basics and just have a real hockey centered thing? Maybe the players can get up into the crowd and see some fans and see some kids, and you can mix it up that way,
Yeah.
make it good for them, but maybe less of a spread outside show like it was this year.
Yeah. I nominated Flip Cup and beer pong. Keep it simple with the beer games and the college games, and maybe you do a little rendezvous on King West. I'll be hosting some stuff next year from King West. That is my area. That's my ville for partying.
For the kids, hey, for the kids, Nick.
Yes. Exactly. No, this is after dark. This is after hours for the NHL. So 9-day break for the Leafs. All-Star game festivities are over. So this starts the bye week for Toronto. They're not back till Friday. And very intriguing. We talked about the schedule last week. I think 3 of the 9 games at the time were against teams that are in a playoff spot right now. And so it starts on Friday and Saturday, a back-to-back home and home with the lowly Columbus Blue Jackets. How many points do you think they pick up? Because I'd probably take the under.
You would, eh? Well, I mean, for a
Trap
premier team,
game.
top 3, 4 team in the NHL, you'd think that we would just, smash all these teams out of the park. You're licking your lips at this part of the schedule. But as we know, these Toronto Maple Leafs, for whatever reason, are not good at getting up for these trap games, as you call it. It seems to be an automatic win in their mind. I mean, subconsciously, you're going to beat the Chicago Blackhawks. You're going to beat the Columbus Blue Jackets every single time. But as we've talked about, when teams come to Toronto, play Toronto, it's usually a nationally televised game. Everyone and their dog back home is talking to them and saying, oh, I'm going to watch. I got a buddy's coming to my house. We're going to be watching you. We got tickets to the game, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of the homecoming for a lot of those Ontario boys that are spread out through the league. And you're going to get the team's best. And in that league, as bad as the Columbus Blue Jackets are and the Chicago Blackhawks are this year, they're an NHL team with NHL players on it. And if they show up, you're going to need to try to beat them. And the Leafs have been piss poor at this year. I mean, what have we dropped games to? 2 to the Coyotes. We've lost to, the Anaheim Ducks. We've just not been doing very well against those lowly teams, yet we can beat the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we can beat some premier teams. And it's interesting, but I hope that this break has jumped something into their minds. I hope they can reorganize their preparation and be on top of those things, because it's getting down to the nitty-gritty where you need to be able to find your game wherever the hell you go. If it's game 4 of the Stanley Cup or the Stanley Cup playoffs and you need a win and you're in the second period and you can't find your game, you need to be able to access it somehow. And if you can't do it against the goddamn Columbus Blue Jackets, you got problems.
Definitely. So it's 3 versus 32 in the NHL, a back-to-back starting against in Columbus on Friday, then home to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and again a 9-day break for the Leafs. So it's your guess as good as mine. Now a team comes back after elongated time off the way it is, but of course Austin Matthews banged up. Obviously a recharged and refreshed, brunt to that team. So interested for Friday's game, and again we'll have coverage all week long. Lots of cool, fun, different segments this week. I should mention as well, Montana's is bringing back the viewing party with daily deals in 2023, half-price wings on this Monday, so make sure to go check that out. Also, we gave away a $25 gift card last week. We're up in the ante this week. We're giving away a $50 gift card courtesy our new friends over at Montana's. That's fantastic. You can buy 5-6 drinks with that money, or you can just buy dinner, or you can buy chicken wings or a lot of them on a Monday. So here's how you're eligible, to win. Like the post that we've put up at TLNDC on Twitter, at TLNDC first and foremost, but you see on your screen, like the post, follow Montana's BBQ and at TLNDC on Twitter and all platforms, all social media platforms. Then tag your friends in the comments. Each comment is an entry. And again, we'll announce a winner coming up on Friday, this Friday, February 10th, a $50 gift card at Montana's. Don't try to rig it. Okay, Rosie?
Oh, 50 bones. I mean, you could take out a first date, maybe hit Bumble Up or whatever your app of choice is. I know you're not unfamiliar with that territory there, Nicholas, but no first comment. Date, drive a couple martinis in her, and then all of a sudden she's ready to hit the dance floor with you. You guys go and just cut a rug all night, setting you up for success on this show. I like it.
What was your dance move of choice back in the day, Rosie? Did you have one?
Two-stepping. Little slow, quick out west here. You can do that. And then we had some jive courses through gym class where you can get some jive moves going in with the 2-step. And I've impressed many a woman. I actually got my wife that way. We did a little 2-step at Cowboys and Roadhouse in Calgary. I think she's listening right now, actually. Hey, baby girl, how your feet feeling? Still sore, I bet, hey?
Wow. Goodness. Okay. So you got your move. You got your standout move. I didn't have much. Put the hand up in the air. I don't know what I'm doing. A little shuffle here, a little shuffle there, and that's about it, man. I go on my good looks,
Not a boy.
That's why I got nothing. Disgustingly single. Anyways, the wrap-up is brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. All right, so let's get back on the wagon. Again, Rosie, another loser on Thursday. Just had to bring that up. But it was a tough card. No NHL hockey, right?
Hey, tough card. And if you're looking for excitement and good games and good action and good entertainment, you follow me, because every time I bet on a game, it is an insanely close. It
It was
comes down to
nuts.
the
Yeah.
buzzer. That game was
Yeah.
being won the entire time.
I
Lakers are
know.
trailing, and last couple minutes they pull it out, and there's all kinds of drama and fireworks. It was a wicked game. And again, if you guys are dumb enough to put your kids' education money on my advice, then it's your own damn
You
fault.
said it.
Just sprinkle a couple bucks on my bets and you're guaranteed to get a good game at least. You're not going to have many winners, but shit.
The fix is in. Okay, let's get back to it tonight. So the NHL is back, a 43-game slate this week. Starts with a bunch tonight. I like the New York Islanders-Philadelphia game. I think, the Islanders have to start winning if they want to get back in the playoff picture. So I'm looking at the money line. I think last I looked was around minus 140. I think if you want to extract more juice into that game, I think you look at the 60-minute line, so in regulation. And number 2, Bo Horvat. So he hasn't played a game for the Islanders. Signs a big fat extension yesterday. I think this is like your classic new player bump. I like the New York Islanders to beat the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. And maybe you look at some player props as well for Bo Horvat. I think he's going to be really, really fired up following the trade and the extension.
Yeah, I would think so. We look for those little things like guys playing their old team or playing in their hometown, and then obviously signing a new extension or getting traded. All good reasons to have a guy with a little bit of bump. And I bet you go into a new team and gives a new vibe, a life to that dressing room, and everyone's saying, "Hey, maybe we've got the chem going now with this Bo Horvat on our team." So, I'd follow you on that one. I think it's a good bet, a good take, and it's be good to see the boys back after a little break that they don't get many of.
Big chem guy, Jay Rosehill. Tim writes in, I honestly don't know because right now I can't be bothered to watch it, of course, alluding to All-Star Weekend. I even didn't bother with the skills competition, which again, most people, I would say in the last 15 years or so, I've watched the skills over the actual All-Star game, and the fact that people are just tuning out the skills as well is problematic, but certainly we'll see what they do the next couple years. Del B writes in, skills comp was embarrassing. Might as well take out fastest skater and hardest shot. Either show the skills and all or just play the game. My kid is 10 and he thought it was dumb. I've heard that reaction around. I've even, we found out All-Star Weekend, Connor McDavid won't do the fastest skater anymore. He's pretty much not scared, but like worried about getting hurt, which I totally understand. He's got nothing else to prove in that. So I think at the very least, I would like to see them overhaul, what they do in the skills competition to cater to the crowd and to cater to who's watching. I just, again, being in the building, there was just too much of like tape segments. And I think it takes the air out of the building. Me, I'm a big wrestling fan. I used to be a bigger wrestling fan back in the day, but the WWE and other, wrestling, companies have done the same thing where they play segments like in the arena, but it really, really takes away when it's not in person, if that makes sense. And I really think it drags the air out of the building following like a pretty decent event sometimes.
Oh, I can imagine there just being absolutely no flow to that production. It was
Yeah.
just broken
Yeah.
up segments, then guys standing around and no one knows what's
Yeah.
next and what was the purpose of that. And then Luongo's in his
Yeah.
gear and someone shoots on him and then someone else comes
Yeah.
out and then they leave. And it's just like, what is going on right now? And then they go to, I can imagine when they go to the beach or whatever, the whole arena is just sitting there waiting while the guys just like stand around the
Pretty
ice.
much.
Like,
Drink
need
time.
some flow.
Yeah.
Need some flow to the production. I mean, like you say, WWE, they got it. Everyone's looking at the ring. Boom, guy comes out.
Yeah.
Boom, music comes on.
Yeah.
Like, get a big production going where it's like, holy shit, here comes so-and-so. You have Sid and Ovi walk out together or whatever. Not just this random, oh, here's two guys jumping on. Oh, one's got a snorkel on. How zany is that? Like, it's just painful, man. It's just too painful.
Yeah.
Bump up the production value. Get a little bit of a, some flow going to the actual event and have it something you can pay attention to, because that was just painful, man.
Just to wrap, Tim says I can see them using the Sky Dome as part of the All-Star game next year. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be neat. You'd have the barn closed, obviously, but you could find some stuff to do in there. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what they do with it, because they haven't had a venue like that in a little while, it seems like.
Fuck, have them take batting practice or something. I don't know, anything but what we're seeing in the last couple of years, man. I do agree with you. I mean, to put a bow and a wrap on All-Star Weekend, as somebody who was there, I had a lot of fun, and that's all that matters in my world. And I'm happy for the kids. I think they had fun in general. Got autographs, got to see their star players, got memorabilia. So when I look back, I'm just not as critical as most people, I guess. Whether it's media or fans or people watching at home on what I'm seeing on the ice. But I guess we'll leave it at that. Okay, we'll look forward to next season.
Hey, for a guy with no kids, you sure care a lot about the kids.
I love it, man. There's nothing that makes me happier. Again, as somebody who was that kid all those years ago and now fortunate enough to cover this league, to go to these events. That's what I think about ultimately, man. Because it's so cool. You see the Kachucks. I watched their dad play. Like, not to date us too much. We're not that old, obviously, but like you watch their dad play, and like you could wonder about their lives growing up, around NHL players, and that's why Sergei Ovechkin was the talk of the town All-Star Weekend, Ovi's kid, right? Being on the ice in the skills competition. That's honestly, in my opinion, what I think it's for. But do I think it needs to an overhaul? To summarize, yes, I do. So we'll leave it at that. That's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. Again, we'll be back tomorrow for more. We're going to do a mailbag this week, too, where you can ask us questions. We're going to try to get a couple insiders, talk some trades. We saw the Horvat trade. We saw Jacob Magna get traded to Seattle last night. So you can't forget that aspect, too. The trade deadline is fast approaching, coming up, of course, on March 3rd, and full coverage coming up here on Leafs Morning Take. Take care.